And welcome back to the Film Reel Cast, where, if you're old enough, go back to 1989. The best we had of Batman was the slightly camp 60s Batman series, Holy Moly Robin. And then comes this dark Tim Burton film. Wait till you get a load of us. This is Batman. Hi, guys.
Hello, mate.
Like that. That's fairly professional.
I like
Didn't fuck
that.
up. Thank you.
That was really good. You did really well there.
I know.
I was waiting for you to fall over your own tongue, but you didn't. Well done. I'm really pleased.
No, I didn't. But I would like, as a favour, to get one thing out the way, which we should really do at the end. But normally, by the time we look at it, it's like, oh no, everyone's got to go to bed. Okay. I would like us to answer, before we start the film, who was the best Joker?
Jack Nicholson.
Heath Ledger was.
To be fair, actually, I did like the guy from Gotham, but I wouldn't say.
He was good. He's definitely not the best, but he was good. Who do you say?
No, I thought he was. For the life of me, it was Heath Ledger all the way until one day, about 15, 16 days ago, I rewatched Batman, and I thought Heath Ledger does it brilliantly.
Yes.
And the thing that clinches it for me is the storyline around Jack's character in the first Batman. I didn't really like, compared to, his origin story was a bit weird, but it fit with the film, fair enough. But I do think Jack Nicholson is the best interpretation of the Joker as we knew at the time. Where I look at Heath Ledger's thing and I think it's very good, but that's a different interpretation.
Yes.
Kind of like a reimagining of the Joker. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Which is why I think Jack Nicholson is the best Joker.
Very much like Matey Boy was for the other films, and he was fucking terrible. The later one.
Oh my god.
I've forgotten his name already because he's so. Thank you, Jared Leto's Joker.
Jared Leto?
Yeah. Jared Leto's Joker,
in Suicide
which is just horrendous. But it was just yet another interpretation, wasn't it, of the Joker? But yeah, no, Jack Nicholson's definitely the best.
Yeah, and what clinches it for me, I know we'll get to it, is the scene in the art gallery, the art museum.
Terrible.
That's what clinched it for me.
No.
The whole thing.
No.
I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
Do you know what?
Rubbish.
Yep, absolute shite. Completely disagree, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, he was doing, right, it may surprise you, I was enjoying this film 50%. I was with it. I was enjoying it. When he changed into the Joker, we'll get into it more. But all I can say is, halfway through this film, he turns from a good Joker into Cesar Romero, and we go back to Batman '66, and he's lost me. That's it.
Really? I thought Cesar Romero did a good job. I thought
he did, but he was the camp Batman. And
yes, this is true.
That's what it was. And as soon as he goes into that art gallery, which for me didn't fit into the film because I had to force, Warner Brothers told him to force that Prince music in, which was fucking shit then and now, that it doesn't fit in with his character. I understand he's an artist as part of what he is, his intellect, but to all come in with the ghetto blaster playing, dancing and stuff like that, it went completely Cesar Romero and camp Joker, and
I loved it.
For the rest of the film, I was gone. That was it. This is what I knew. This is why I hated it, and this is why I fucking did not want to fucking have to watch this again. I watched this 3 times, and
I've seen this film so many times. I only had to watch it once, and I remembered everything. I love this. But anyway, that's fine.
Oh,
but
wow, this is good. I'm excited. Let the hate.
God, yeah.
It's good.
So, for those lucky people who haven't seen this film, there is no. I'm being really harsh. I'm being very harsh. And I could surprise you. But there is a story to this. So Gotham City crime boss, Carl Grissom, Jack Palance. I haven't seen Jack Palance since City Slickers. I completely forgot he existed, to be honest. And he always plays a baddie, doesn't he? No matter what he's in, if you want a baddie, get him in.
I don't think he can play anything else, mate, to be fair.
No, it's like some of some actors always play a German guard in war films, regardless. You always see them in it. It's just they're so stereotyped and typecast. But he effectively runs the town. There is a new crime fighter in town, Batman, played by Michael Keaton. Grissom's right-hand man is Jack Napier, Jack Nicholson, a brutal man who is not entirely sane, even before he turns into the Joker. After falling out with Grissom, Napier sets him up with the police. Following a confrontation with Batman, Napier falls, or is he dropped, talking point, into a chemical. However, he soon reappears as the Joker and starts to rain terror on Gotham City. Meanwhile, Vicky Vale, played by Kim Basinger, is in the city to do an article on Batman. She soon starts a relationship with Batman, stroke Bruce Wayne. And it goes on from there downhill. So that is the rough storyline.
Wow.
Oh dear.
That is.
It's just so funny.
I think he's
love
going to try and John Wick. He's going to try and John Wick to us, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh,
but...
seriously, I'm far too mature to do anything such as that.
Stu, don't even try and pull that one. Even our listeners know that that's not the case.
Oh,
No.
dearie me, that's harsh. So, do you like this? Obviously, I watched this one a long time ago. And first of all, I mean, we're kind of skipping ahead. Tim Burton. He was a very interesting choice. When you think what he did in '85, he did Pee-wee's Big Adventure, then he did Beetlejuice, which is a great film.
Yeah.
And then he did Batman. And I feel that you'll probably slate me for this anyway, but when you think he's got that, is it what was that other film he did? Is it like The Night Before Christmas or something like that, wasn't it?
He did loads. He did Edward Scissorhands. He's done loads of.
Yeah, and I must admit, I
Crazy
struggle with his work. I like Edward Scissorhands, but this Batman feels all in the same universe as Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands. It's like this. It's very dark and very quirky. It's not what I got when, to my kind of pleasant surprise, when I turned on watching like Batman, Nolan's trilogy. That it's like, wow, it's modern day. It's now here. But this, to a certain extent, apart from the mobile phones, this seems timeless as well, but in a very dark, gritty city, doesn't it?
Well, it was based on graphic novels, so it was playing a homage to that. So that's why it looks like it does, and it is, like you said, it is very Tim Burton. You have to agree that it is very Tim Burton.
Yeah,
his style, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And the first bit, I have to say, got me. I was fooled, and I didn't remember any of this film when I watched it. I did not remember a single part. And it starts with this family, mum and dad and a kid, trying to get a taxi. And I thought this was an origin story as to how Bruce Wayne became Batman, and it really fooled me.
But it wasn't. So it was good.
It wasn't. It was Batman watching some family getting beaten up rather than intervening, and then intervening afterwards.
The funny thing is, though,
a
it's more...
superhero doesn't do that.
Yeah, but it's more interesting watching that now, knowing what we know now, because obviously we know that's how Batman became Batman, and it's almost happened. It kind of, sort of happened to another child, but not. So it was a nice, like, almost reflection. But yeah, it was a bit weird. I imagine he caught up with him later. But yeah, I thought that was quite good. Now, also, as you mentioned about the style, it was it seemed like almost a very 50s style with the hats and everything, you know, kind of like reminded me of I don't know, but it looked like a city out of time. It didn't look modern, as in even in the late 80s, it didn't seem like a modern, like medieval, isn't it? All the structures and some of the clothes the people were wearing.
Yeah, it was based on the graphic novel written by Frank Miller, which has done other things such as Sin City and stuff like that. And if you read any of his work and stuff, it's all very much based around sort of the 50s, the way people dress and the art style. So that's why it looks the way it does.
Okay. And I found straight away when I watched this, on the first, when he's got those two goons who obviously robbed that family, and he goes and takes them both out, that I kind of thought the suit is hindering his movement, and to me it was very evident, and I was quite worried about Michael Keaton being a Batman, because he's not the biggest guy at all, and you need that physical presence. And I read a lot of articles before this, as I normally do, and stuff like that about his suit, and it was latex, and he felt very claustrophobic. And I think this really affects the action scenes throughout this film, of his movement. He doesn't have that movement. When he looks up in the air, he leans his whole body and arcs his back to look up in the air. It seems very awkward for him, and I think that lets down the action scenes.
I suppose it would to you, and I can understand where you're coming from, but it was the aesthetic they were going for, and that was all they could really do at the time to get it to look the way they wanted it to look. But yeah, they afterward, because if you look at his suit, his whole head is connected, like as in the suit side of it. I know his head is connected to his shoulders, but it's all one plastic mold. There's no movement, so yes, it did make it extremely difficult for him, but they couldn't do it any other way, apparently.
I think you're right, and I think it wasn't until Christian Bale's second film, The Dark Knight, because he had a bit of a similar problem, even in the Batman Begins. I do appreciate it limits you on the action. I completely agree with that, Stu, when you're looking at it critically. However, I do feel that some of the movements, the way he looks up and down, he looks more menacing because he looks more it's a very unnatural thing to do, and it's an unnatural movement to make. And I think that just adds to this dark mystery of a character that is Batman that Tim Burton was trying to get across. I think it also helps him, as much as it hinders him in the action scenes. I also think it kind of like helps keep him like a bit weird and mysterious and a bit like, different.
Yep. Yeah, it's really interesting that the takes, isn't it? It's like you've got my Top Gun purple pink tinted glasses on, and I don't see what you see, which is quite interesting. It was nice to see, and I was really surprised to see Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, and because as I say, I couldn't remember any of this, and it was kind of, to me, he's a big name. Obviously from the Star Wars universe, but he doesn't seem to. I mean, I don't know whether he's in any other ones. Is he in any more Batman films?
I think he's in Returns, is he?
He is in Returns, yeah.
He did have. Neil might be able to correct me on this, but I think he did have a contract for 3 films. I appreciate he didn't play Two-Face in the end, but I'm sure I've read somewhere or heard that he did have a contract for 3 Batman films, potentially with the idea of coming as Two-Face, which would have been nice. But yeah,
it would have been good. Yeah, I think it would have been very good.
Did Tommy Lee Jones become Two-Face?
Yeah, it was a different director and everything.
Joel Schumacher, yeah.
And it sort of went very, very downhill by that point. Unfortunately, as much as most people don't like him, if it wasn't for Jim Carrey, that film would have been an absolute flop.
Yes.
Well, yeah, it virtually killed the fucking franchise anyway, didn't it?
Well, the 4th one, my God. If anyone ever says that is a good film, it needs to have their eyes removed, because it's not. But Jim Carrey saved the 3rd one. But it's a shame, because obviously Tim Burton went off to do other things, and I think if he'd been able to do the trilogy, it probably would have been very good.
Yeah, because it was just a case of. What I was watching is a really good documentary on Sky Arts and Sky Max. And it's called Rise of the Superheroes, and they go from DC to Marvel, and they interviewed kind of Joel Schumacher and just everyone and all these artists and stuff like that who worked on the comics, and they were talking about Tim Burton's Batman, and then when Joel Schumacher took over, how it killed it, and how they were saying that the Batman Forever is the one with Catwoman in, isn't it?
No, that's Batman Returns.
Batman Returns.
Batman Returns, and they were saying that was too dark, and that it wasn't for family viewing of what they actually expected, and that kind of hampered the franchise. And then obviously they went and brought other characters in, which were just equally as bizarre decision making, and it just wrote everything off. And when you think by this time in 1996 that Marvel went bankrupt, and they were selling off a lot of their rights because they couldn't keep up with what DC were doing. And it's just amazing to think that now that they could be possibly in that position. And then you had the Bryan Singer came out with the X-Men, and then Sam Raimi came out with Spider-Man, and it kind of restarted the franchise, because when Batman came out, it was so. I mean, I remember obviously being of kind of older age. I remember Prince in the videos, and at that time I was more into like heavy metal and kind of NWA and all different things like that. And I just wasn't interested in Prince, and I think that played a part in I just don't want any part of this. But it was I really clearly remember the Batman symbol, and it was just the Batman symbol. There wasn't like the posters today when there was lots of different characters on there. It was just the Batman symbol, which was really, really clever marketing, wasn't it?
Definitely. And the interesting thing about that is when they first brought that out, it took them a few minutes to realise what it actually was, which is strange to think of that now because it's instantly recognisable. But this film was so sort of, well, like when it was announced, everyone went mental for it. They were so intrigued by it that all the media, people were breaking into bus stops to steal the posters and stuff.
Wow.
And people would phone up their local cinemas to find out when the trailers were, just so they could go and see the trailer for this film, and they wouldn't even stay to see the film that they paid to see. That's how much people wanted this film, and you know, their advertisement around it and stuff was amazing.
It's interesting that, I mean, because I watched off the back of doing this, we watched Dream Team last night with Michael Keaton, which is a very, very funny film, and he was quite a brave choice because he came from a comedy background as Batman. And I mean, obviously we spoke about the Joker before, but do you think he's a better Bruce Wayne, or do you think he's a better Batman, or he's the better of both? Where do you think he sits?
What, Keaton?
Yeah.
I think he plays both really well, to be honest. I mean, let's be fair, he's the first one after, obviously, the wonderful late Adam West to play Batman. And he was a completely different Bruce Wayne and Batman. And, you know, I've never had an issue with his performance as either Batman or Bruce Wayne. I think.
Where do you think he stands in the pantheon of Bruce Wayne and Batman? Yeah.
For me, he's up there as the best.
Oh wow.
He's the best.
Okay, that's interesting. And what about you? What about you, Jay?
See, I only like Christian Bale, but what I like about Keaton's character, and I don't think it's a Batman and Bruce Wayne will ever get again, especially Bruce Wayne, is Bale behaves more like a playboy. Yeah. Where I think you could argue, I thought Bale was a more intimidating Batman, and I think Bale's probably a better Batman. But this guy, he plays like a really bizarre millionaire, eccentric, kind of like, and you believe that he has had trouble growing up and stuff because he's kind of like almost a bit off center when it comes to socializing. For example, I mean, you've got things like him and Vicky Vale at the complete different ends of the table. The way
brilliant.
Yeah, the way he walks around and talks to people, the way he didn't even admit he was Bruce Wayne, and the way he does, and then followed him around, which is a bit weird. He doesn't give me creepy vibes, but I think you describe him as odd if you met this Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he's by far. I mean, I'm forgetting Christian Bale, and that is a completely different universe. And to me, it's superior, and it's not fair because it's a completely different concept. So it's not fair to kind of bring them in to a certain degree. But I think out of this era where you had Val Kilmer and George Clooney, was there anyone else, or was it just those?
It was those three in that era.
That he's by far the better Batman and the better Bruce Wayne. I think you both summed it up really well. He's really quirky. He's socially awkward, and he just doesn't know how to be around different people. And it's funny that dinner scene, as you say, when they sit at the end of the table, and until it's kind of highlighted to him to a certain degree, he doesn't understand what's wrong with being 15 foot away
at
the end of a table, and this is a good evening. And when he's talking to her and in the lobby, and he says, "Oh, we run out of champagne," and he doesn't really know what to do. I'll just get 3 more boxes then. And is that enough?
Yeah.
He's just not the confident person, and he's really awkward. And when he comes across later in the film of that scene when he's confronted by Joker, I love the way he switches to like, come on in. I think it's really believable, and he does have that look, and he does look a little bit strange, as you say, Jay. He's really kind of off center with the way he looks. He's got that mental look in his eye, and I think it works so well. And he is very much hidden as when he's Batman. I would never, if someone would have said which actor is this, I wouldn't pick him out.
No way.
Michael Keaton, because it's just he's hidden so much, but he's very, very good. And we're getting on to when you first kind of see Jack Nicholson, but his character, he's a really interesting choice as the Joker, and I can understand why from the previous films he's done. And in history, it's the biggest wage anyone's ever had in history, isn't it?
Yes, it was at the time, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because he got paid the rights for this film, and he also included the next 2 films as well.
So that's clever. It's clever, isn't it? Let's be fair. He's. But yeah, I think that's the thing, because obviously he was a massive part of making this film as well. A lot of the scenes were based on a lot of it was ad-libbed, but a lot of the scenes, especially towards the end, were in relation to what he wanted to do. So he had a lot of artistic sort of license with this film, and he was obviously very, very well respected as well as an actor, as he should be. So
yeah, he's just so menacing. He really does command the screen, and when everyone talks about this film, everyone talks about Jack Nicholson, and everyone else comes second, because he's just got that presence. And even when he's not the Joker, when he's being Jack Napier, he does come across as someone who's just insane and craves power.
If Grissom knew about us, he might hand you something.
Don't flatter yourself, Angel. He's a tired old man. He can't run this city without me.
And the reason why he ends up, I don't know whether it ended up anyway, he's kind of number 2 to the leader. I've even forgotten his bloody name now.
Grissom,
yeah, he's the lead. He's number 2 to him, but the reason why he kind of falls foul is because he's cheating with his wife, who is, what's her name? Married to Jerry Hall, married to Mick Jagger, yeah. So, and he's cheating with her, and he's not frightened of anyone. You can tell he's hungry for that power, and he's just so good. He's got that fucking mad look on his face, which he does so well naturally without any intent.
Yeah, and that's why he was so good in horror films and stuff, wasn't he? Because he's just got that look on his face. You just don't know what he's thinking half the time. And then his acting prowess and stuff. I think Jack Nicholson's one of the best actors out there, and has been for a long, long time when it comes to these type of roles.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the character who's in the police, who's Eckhart, who's working moody, and he's kind of tipping off like the mob about everything that happens. Is he? I mean, his character isn't mentioned in, say, for instance, like the Nolan's trilogy. Is he someone who actually exists in the world of DC and like Batman?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know that. James might know more than
me.
No,
I definitely don't. What I find interesting though, Neil, is, but in Batman Begins, you have a very similar rotund-looking cop with messy hair and is equally scruffy that Batman knows is a bent cop. He's the one. Remember, he in Batman Begins, he basically uses his whatever batarang or whatever and lifts him up and goes, "Whoa, swear to me," and starts shouting at him. Do you remember that scene? Yeah. I always think that's a bit of a nod to the corrupt cop in this Batman, because when you actually look at the way they're both dressed, they're disheveled, they're corrupt cops. They're not a million miles away from each other, are they?
It could be a homage, actually. That's a very good point.
I've always wondered that.
Yeah, it probably is, because you're right. I mean, that's the thing with it, isn't it? It's all around the facts that, I mean, the whole story around Batman, isn't it? That Gotham City so corrupt that he's needed to become a vigilante to try and sort of scare the criminals into leaving, or and stuff like that, because the police aren't able to do anything about it, because most of them are on the books, and obviously Ed Cart is the one that's obviously feeding their information direct to Grissom.
Yeah.
So he's the most bent one of them all.
He is, and you can't forget Bob the Goon, who's Jack Nicholson's sidekick. Who
love Bob.
He's always there at the right time, just appearing to kind of save and get Jack Nicholson out of so much shit, which surprises me. He does what he does later on in the film, but he's a really, really funny guy. And I think out of all of the people, like the commissioner and like Harvey, I think Harvey Dent is the weakest character out of this. And when you think he's got so much charisma, Billy D. Williams, he just lacked that in this film. It just wasn't in it enough. I don't know whether anyone's going to be overshadowed, I know, by Nicholson, but you've got Knox, who's a reporter, who I think that's his name, who kind of teams up with Vicky Vale, Kim Basinger's character, that even he's more of a kind of a prevalent part in this film than Billy D. Williams, which surprised me.
Yeah, he's not a very big part in it at all, and his only real part is about the fact that they're trying to organise that massive extravaganza, aren't they, through the streets, and he's constantly being sort of goaded and told what to do by the mayor, Lee Wallace. And though his acting's good in it, he's not in it enough for you really to be able to build up a character arc. So it's a shame for such a good actor, but it just obviously wasn't that type of role within this.
No, not at all. And I was surprised. I mean, I didn't like, and she didn't have much to do. I thought Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale. I mean, Vicky Vale, I take it that she's a character. She's an actual character. She is.
Yeah, she is,
And she just seems to scream a lot in this. I thought for a love interest, obviously back in the day, Kim Basinger and like people kind of like Cindy Crawford, and they were just outstanding, like supermodels and just beautiful. Daryl Hannah as well. But she really lacks any charisma in this film. I think she's really weak. From my own point of view, obviously.
Ooh, what do you say to that, James? What do you?
I don't think she's weak, but I do think she's there, kind of like to be saved. I don't think
damsel, isn't she?
Yeah. But then this is coming off the 80s, if you remember, like the late 80s, where you had, I mean, excuse me, damsels in distress are plenty. Like a couple in Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Especially Temple of Doom. Yeah, screams all the time, and I think you had that quite a lot. It didn't really bother me. I mean, she wasn't a stupid character. She wasn't that stupid. I thought she was interesting, but also we kind of started off with her, and we went along for the ride with her to a certain extent to learn who Batman and Bruce Wayne really are, because we kind of learn almost, but not quite at the same rate as she does. Albeit I don't think she knew the origin of the Joker, but we learn a lot more about Batman and Bruce Wayne along with her. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to agree. Her screaming within the film does start to grind you a little bit, because as the film goes on, she does it more and more. And so as much as her character, I don't find her character bad. That part within her character starts getting on your tits after a while. I have to be honest with that.
Yeah, she kind of starts to lack nothing apart from a scream. I mean, where do you rate? I mean, I like Michael Goff, who plays Alfred in this. Ooh, I think he's very good. For me, again, Michael Caine was brilliant, and he had the comedy, and he was a great, amazing Alfred. But he's got obviously the caliber of films behind him. But Alfred in this, Michael Goff, is the more traditional Alfred that I think of a Batman. He's not better than Michael Caine, but he's equally as good. And he's who if I had to pick an Alfred, who would it be? It would be this guy. He's really, really good.
Yeah, he's a different type of like you go. You're looking at Nolan against this, and I know you've sort of taken it away in some aspects. They're completely different types of films, aren't they? And you're right. This guy is far more traditional, and he plays Alfred through all four.
Oh wow!
Of these films, probably because he couldn't get another job, to be fair, because he's old, and he's known as Alfred. But he he ends up being quite a main storyline in, I think, is it the fourth? Yeah, the fourth one, because that's when Batgirl comes into it, and he's her granddad, I think.
Yeah, something
and
like
he's
that.
dying, isn't he? And then they manage to cure him with Dr. Freeze's research and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, he is in all four of them. Yeah, he's a very good Alfred.
Yeah, he's great, and I love the fact that when they have that night to save the fair, that he's following Bruce Wayne around, Michael Keaton, who's putting glasses down in mahogany and putting pens down in plants, and he's just tidying up after him, and and it's just so funny that he does so much more probably than Keaton is aware of, and he just picks up after him even as an adult. I thought that was a really, really good touch.
Yeah, he's a very good father figure, I think. There's bits later on in the film which are quite touching and stuff. So yeah, no, but those bits at the beginning very funny.
Yeah, and the introduction to when Knox and Vicky Vale are in this kind of the weaponry room or whatever they want to call it, and they're taking a piss out of some of the antiques and things on display.
Commissioner Gordon. Wait. Living room, tiny room, arsenal. Get this stuff. Who is this guy?
He gives to all these humanitarian causes and then collects all this stuff.
He probably doesn't get chicks. They like him for his big charity balls.
Yeah, and don't leave out his very large bankroll.
Now remember, the more they've got, the less they're worth.
And this guy must be the most worthless guy in America.
Oh, where'd this come from?
I have no idea.
It's Japanese.
How do you know?
Because I bought it in Japan.
Who are you?
Oh, sorry, Bruce Wayne.
It is the really, really good line, and again, it's just delivered so well. There's nothing flash about that. It's just almost as if he's saying it because, yeah, that's facts. I'm not being flash.
Yeah,
and it's just great. And clearly, he's giving grants out to everyone because the first bit that Knox does is say, "Can I have a grant?" Thank you, low life.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Oh yeah, and give Knox a grant. And Alfred's face is like, what? What are you talking about?
It's so good, and I like the fact that clearly there's chemistry between him and Vicky Vale, but he doesn't try to kind of woo her and be flash. That he still just remains in character. He's just himself. And I really like that. It's kind of a really endearing quality about Bruce Wayne in this film that's really likable.
He's not sleazy or anything, is he? Or a playboy or anything. He's clearly rich, hence why he does all those ridiculous things and lives in the mansion and stuff. But he's actually quite a sort of a character you can get on board with. I think.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think it would have ruined the character somewhat if they would have made him into someone. I don't know what he's. I've never read a Batman comic in my life, so I honestly don't know what he's like in the comics. But he is just like a normal bloke who's just rolling with the punches whilst he's Bruce Wayne. I mean, is he acting when he's Bruce Wayne, and is he different when he's Batman? I mean, is this all an act, or is Batman an act?
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, I think Batman is just an alter ego of him that he needs to be. In order to do what he has to do, because no one else will do it, and that's similar with all the Batmans. That's the whole point, isn't it? It's but it's interesting because you talk about Batman and the difference between like Nolan's Bat or Christian Bale's Batman and this. What I liked about him is the fact that he didn't start having to try and talk with a ridiculously deep voice and start shouting at everybody, because it's just brilliant because he just talks normally. And it's quite, when you look at it now, watching all the other films where they all change their voice and stuff like that, it's quite refreshing to watch this back and say, oh, thank God he's not growling at everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is really refreshing to be able to sit there and not have to turn the volume up or put subtitles on because you struggle to listen to what he's saying. So I completely thumbs up with that. I mean, it's always, when I think about Batman, that you've got someone whose parents, as we know, died. Everyone knows the origin story of Batman, who's on planet Earth. But how he's a billionaire, millionaire, and he chooses to, in the evenings, dress up as a bat and go around and be a vigilante. And it just seems really strange. Of all the things you could do if you had that much money, that you go and do that. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a really strange concept, isn't it?
Yeah, go on, James.
It is. No. But look, that's why I think it's so important that obviously, and it get played in there, the scene where his parents die, and they didn't catch his killer. And I think at a young age, that obviously gave him some kind of tormented PTSD, and he wanted to do something about it because at that time he kind of felt out of control. And I imagine he doesn't want anyone else to feel that way. And he knows the police are corrupt. So I think he puts it upon himself and and he feels like he's responsible, just like I think his parents were, as described in Batman Begins, especially his dad, looking after the city. I guess that's his way of trying to look after the city, that both him and his parents and his granddad, his whole legacy of Wayne's loved.
First family of Gotham, isn't it? But no, the reason he does the bat, now listeners, please do correct me, but I'm pretty sure the fact that he has a fear of bats, so he basically uses that fear and turns it into what he is. So he's like, well, if I can overcome my biggest fear, which is bats, and then use that against the people that are criminals, that's basically how he comes up with the idea of dressing like a giant bat.
Is that said in this film?
No, but it's not said in any other films either, is it?
Well, he falls down.
He uses it in Batman Begins. It does, doesn't it? But
similar,
in the Nolan's one, it is stated when he's in the well, isn't it? Really clearly of the bats. But in this one, I think it's a really brave decision. If this was going to be a one-off standalone film, even for the first film, regardless, for people again who didn't know this, young children or whoever, to not explain. And it was a different time then, maybe they just didn't want to, why he is a bat, why everything's got the bat logo on, because you don't get that origin story of this. I mean, at all. But to not have a Batman film for so long, and then to have a film with no origin story. I mean, thank God they didn't, because I'm sick of origin stories at the moment, because a different era getting superheroes shoved down our throats. I don't need one. But
that's very true.
It's interesting not to have an origin story.
Doesn't it make it more mysterious? And you think, I wonder why it happened. And it does make a nod to it with his parents being killed and he becomes Batman, albeit there's about a decade and a half, 2 decades in between, isn't there? That they've left out. But I don't think that's that bad. I mean, for example, when we watched what was it? The arguably one of the superhero movies to kick off the Marvel franchise, but not really. Not Iron Man, Blade. The first Blade.
Yeah. Amazing,
we didn't really have an origin story there. It was just we were told, weren't we? I think by Whistler how.
Which is nice again, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was nice not to have an origin story, because we have all those problems beforehand. We have all that. Okay, we're not going to see the hero now till at least the second hour of the film, Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, they go to is it Axe's factory, isn't it? They decided to go and take all the documentation and stuff like that from it and make out as if it's been broken into. And the leader, it's Grissom, wants Jack Nicholson's character Napier to go and lead the way. And it's obviously a way he can get payback because he's sleeping with his wife, Alicia. And again, when they go there, it's a setup. You've got Eckhart, who's there as well. And it's the first time kind of properly in a bit of daylight, I suppose, or a bit of brightness, that you actually see Batman turns up. And it's, again, I still think it's very awkward, his movements. And I think it just lets it down. But the most important scene for me in this is that Jack Nicholson's there, and they do have a bit of to and fro, and he does shoot Eckhart for being a complete scumbag, which I've got no problem with. And then he shoots at Bruce Wayne, or shoots at Batman, and a bullet bounces off a pipe, gets him in the face. Correct me if I'm wrong. And he falls off, and he's hanging from this ledge.
Yeah.
And I watched this so many times to try and work out, did he let him go or did he not? Bearing in mind, at the start of this film, he grabs someone by the throat with one hand and holds them off the rooftop. But he's holding Jack Nicholson with one hand. And he just looks like he lets him go. And that is not what Batman's all about.
I think it's the leather glove that slips out of his hand, isn't it? So he tries to.
That's what I always thought, funnily enough.
Yeah. He would never have let him go. He wanted to save him, but he couldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Stu.
No, I just didn't know because I've watched it so many times and it's just like he's hanging there and yeah, he's got the leather glove on and it's just I don't know, it's like the look on Batman or in his eyes that kind of does he do it? I don't know, and I just didn't know what your points of view was. And obviously he falls in that vat and then you see the hand coming out for the change. But I like the mystique of when they are shooting at poor old Batman, who always gets the shit for everything, that he uses that smoke bomb, and we see that, but to them they don't see the grappling hook and it's like he's flying up in the air. And I like seeing that from both sides because they're talking about those baddies at the start that he drinks people's blood and there's so much kind of a kind of myth and stories about him that he just flies up and these people don't know how he's done it. He can fly. And I love that about this. I think it's very, very clever the way they sell it, or he sells his image to everyone, doesn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think the bit I like most about it is obviously the Commissioner Gordon turns up, doesn't he? Or the Commissioner. And
yeah.
There's been lots of stories around Batman, but he's never seen him, and then he clocks eyes on him and he's like, oh my god. It's like, don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone about this.
It did make me chuckle when he said that. I thought, this is terrible.
It's like, for God's sake, it's just had this massive industrial incident. Don't start letting everyone know the bloody Batman was here that everyone's fucking chirping on about.
Yeah. And is that the same Commissioner Gordon who's in the rest of the films as well, or does that change?
I think that is the same for
I think so.
the second one, but I don't think he's in the third and fourth.
No, but once again, the Commissioner doesn't really play a big role in this, does he? He's just there.
Yeah.
He's maybe a tiny bit bigger than Billy D. Williams in this. That's kind of not that you need him, and not that you miss it either, I imagine. But yeah.
I think it's nice though because it was trying to, as much as it could. I know obviously Stu's already alluded to the Joker turning into a character from the 60s series, but I think they were really trying as hard as they could to stay away from that. So because obviously Batman used to go into the office and he'd go, hi Commissioner, and they used to have a chat and a cigar, and then he'd run off going, holy hell, Robin, and slap my ass. And they wanted to stay away from that, so it's nice that he wasn't like this massive part and stuff.
No, I completely agree. And when he goes to see the plastic surgeon, I mean, I take it the plastic surgeon has tried to do the best he can with a bad job, because it's really, I mean, the makeup in the kind of the prosthetics on his face are very, very good for Jack Nicholson to be as the Joker. I mean, back then it was completely groundbreaking, wasn't it?
It still is now when you look at it. If you watching the films now, it's still brilliant. I love it.
I can't see where they join. It's very, very good, really effective.
It's obviously, I think Jack Nicholson's face sort of lends to that as well, doesn't it? Because he's quite an odd looking guy anyway. Sorry, Jack. But you know, obviously regular listener. It does suit his face, so it made it look even better. But even to this day, it holds up. Definitely.
And he does go and kill Grissom, and I do love the dialogue between him and Grissom. I really, really do. I mean, I think, or I don't know, do you think he's still Jack Napier, or do you think he's complete Joker insane now? Where do you think he is at this part?
He's gone nuts, hasn't he? He's gone, for me. I don't know if you found that different. Jay, or not?
No, I think he went completely nuts. I think it's almost like you said, there was always that torment, that unusualness, that's nasty side about him, even before he fell in the vat. But it's kind of like that was the straw that broke the camel's. That's the one thing that completely made him unhinged. That whole incident. I think, what is that quote? The Joker said a number of times. It only takes a bad day for someone to go insane or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, a man of one bad day, and obviously that was his one bad day. And I thought it was always there, but it's kind of like it's been let loose, isn't it? After that.
And I love the shooting, the way he shoots him, just dancing around over his shoulder, behind his back. I think it's brilliantly done. And whether this was something he did off his own back or whether it was told, it's just so much fun to watch.
It is, and I think that's what makes him such a brilliant Joker.
Yeah, definitely. And while he's doing that, go on, Neil. Go on. Sorry.
No, I was just going to agree with Jay. He plays it so well. He's just evil, isn't he? And he's mental. You don't know what he's going to do next. And the fact that he's running around, shooting between his legs, repeatedly just shooting his little boss that he's already killed, and laughing that laugh and stuff like that. And it's just the first time I watched it, and I think every time I've seen it since, it's just like you cannot imagine anybody else playing that role.
No.
In those films, it just couldn't be done.
No, completely, and it's really weird, isn't it? Because you get so many roles like this. Like, obviously, the one that always comes to me is Tony Stark and Robert Downey Jr. and this one and Chris Evans, and a lot of especially kind of like the superhero films, and you can't imagine anyone else playing it, and he just looks so menacing. That look in his eyes and the smile, because he's always got those raised eyebrows, isn't he, that makes him look insane. He literally does just look insane. He really, really does. And he has got a touch of definitely more so with his eyes, the Cesar Romero Joker about him. I'm not talking about camp body language. I'm talking about looking at his face, where his makeup is quite smart and tidy. That was always Cesar Romero, the way he looked. And he has got that certain look about him, but he looks insane.
That was the Joker within the comic books, though.
Yes.
It was white face, clean suit, proper gangster, sort of very smart pinstripe suit. That is basically what he was always drawn as. Even if you look at any of the animated series and stuff like that, that is exactly what the Joker was. Even to wear the sort of hats and stuff like that he does in this film.
Okay, what the kind of hats?
Yes, yeah, that's basically what he wears. Like, because the guy that plays Luke Skywalker, how I've forgotten his fucking name, is
Mark Hamill.
Disgusting. Mark Hamill voices the Joker in a lot of the animated stuff, and
right.
And so often we had the question at the very beginning, didn't we, of who's the best Joker? And a lot of people turn around and say it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
Because of the way he voices and laughs and stuff. And if you actually watch some of the darker Batman stuff that's out there, he's brilliant.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. And he has that meeting with all the other goons, doesn't he? And again, it's quite a nice scene. And it's interesting that in this, when he does have that meeting of all the leaders, that he's not wearing his makeup, but still, I can't work out how they did the makeup on his face. And it's great. And when he shakes that guy's hand, and there's always going to be, in every single film, there's always one who asks a stupid question and you know he's going to die. And he's got that kind of buzzer on his hand. And the special effects, you can forget about them. But it's very funny scene, the way he cooks him. And he looks like someone who's probably an extra in Beetlejuice. He looks so funny.
It's brutal, isn't it? When you think about it and actually watch it. And you're like, fucking hell, that's horrendous. He's basically electrocuted him to the point that he's turned into a skeleton.
Yeah.
It's just like, fucking hell.
When I first saw that, it completely... I wasn't that old. I was still at primary school, and I was just horrified.
Yeah.
that scene. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was mental, wasn't it? And the fact that he obviously just kicks them all out afterwards, doesn't he? And he starts having a conversation with,
Yes.
with the skeleton.
Your pals, they're not bad people. Maybe we ought to give them a couple of days to think it over. No. Grease them now. Okay. You are a vicious bastard, retaliant. I'm glad you're dead. I'm glad you're dead.
And that's the thing, he's completely off the wall, isn't he? He's having a conversation with this dead body and then laughing about the horrendous thing he said afterwards.
Mm.
And it was, chilling, I suppose, would be the best word for it.
And it's interesting that all of his goons now have embroidered jackets with the Joker emblem on them.
Yes. Yes,
Brilliant.
That was so
Brilliant,
funny.
Stu. It's brilliant.
Again, though, that is from the comics and stuff that his goons have out. They have uniform. So
It's just great. You got Bob standing there, and it's just so funny. He really is.
Good old Bob. He was as far as I'm aware, he got the part of Bob because he's a true friend of Jack Nicholson's in real life.
Oh, seriously?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And we were talking earlier about kind of the origins and stuff like that. The only time you do get close to it is when you get Vicky Vale, who's really intrigued about Bruce Wayne, and she follows him, and then he leaves flowers outside this building, obviously to where his parents died. And they don't go any further than that, do they, as to any kind of origin? And they do look like the previous the newspaper headlines on that famous machine that I went down the library to look at.
your lovely death machine. Yeah.
My death machine. Yeah, that we were talking about in 1408. If anybody hasn't listened to that already, that is there to listen to. And I love the bit when they're outside. I presume it's the town hall, and you've got the goons there, and then Jack Nicholson turns up as this clown, as this mime artist, and that is Jack Nicholson, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's so fucking weird. Really strange. Just he puts on such an act. It's really weird, and the fact that Michael Keaton, even when it's kicking off, obviously Bruce Wayne doesn't panic. He just walks through the hail of bullets whilst people are running away. I think it's really interesting that it plays out like that. Because he's given away who he is, really, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. You have to agree with that. It is weird that he just walks towards him, doesn't he, without any sort of fear whatsoever, and goes up to the window even though he's just thrown this pen into the gangster's neck, killing him on the steps of Gotham. Because this was all filmed in Pinewood Studios.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they brought it over. There was a big empty parking lot or area within Pinewood Studios, so they built Gotham there. So all of that is set and pre-built for the film, which is amazing when you think about it. And
God, yeah, it's such a big set, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge. So they basically built Gotham City in Pinewood Studios in England, because there was nowhere else in America that had the room to be able to do what they wanted to do.
Interesting you know that, because I remember, albeit slightly controversial, I'm mentioning his name, Jim will fix it. I remember watching a
fucking hell.
I remember watching an episode of that, and one kid wanted to drive his toy Batmobile around Gotham, and I think it must have been when they were filming Batman Returns or something like that. And he went to the film set and drove his little car around the set.
That's very sweet.
Yes, and then that's where that conversation ends, obviously.
I was going to say that let's talk about that the better.
Yes,
because the Joker kills one of the goons who was at the table, and he announces himself to everyone as being the boss. And again, it goes back to Billy D. Williams, who it just has little impact and effect on anything, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, he doesn't do much. But I don't think it really harms a character. I think it only harms a character with what we know now, the casual fan, us being kind of casual fans of Batman, because we've seen the Batman Nolan trilogy, and you go back to this thinking he's going to be a big character when he's not. And we also don't know if he wasn't signed on for those 3 films. We don't know what the plan for the 3rd film was. He going to be Two-Face? I don't know, but
so as I say, I'm just the Nolan, and that's it. I'm not comics or anything. So in the comic books, does Billy D. Williams, but does Harvey Dent become Two-Face in the comic books?
Yeah, that's who Two-Face is. Yeah.
So was that who Tommy Lee Jones played, Harvey Dent, then?
Yeah.
Okay, right. I've not seen those films, so it's.
But obviously, you don't get an origin story with that either. He's just a gangster that's got 2 faces, and it's not very well explained in that either.
No,
to be honest,
it's rubbish.
It's just a terrible film.
It is horrendous.
To be fair, he's a good Two-Face in it. If you want to consider he never had one before. But yeah, no, it doesn't really explain it. But yes, in the comic books, that is who he is.
Okay, right. Because it's just, because when I saw Tommy Lee Jones, he just seemed like a baddie straight away, which confused me because it's so hard to not go back to the Nolan, as in the big characters that these people are. And it's interesting to put them here where, obviously in Tim Burton's world, that it's done a completely different way, and that's it. But the Batman in the Joker in this, I do like it when he's in his kind of hideout and he's cutting out those figures, and it's obviously though from the Maltese, I believe, from what Vicky Vale took of all dead people, and he's just cutting them out and leaving them there, and it just shows how sick he is. And later on, when he deforms Alicia Jerry Hall, he sprays acid in her face. And why does he? Is it because he's disfigured that he's now disfiguring other people who's beautiful? Does he consider himself beautiful? I couldn't work out why he wanted to do that, because it looked like he wanted to do it to Vicky Vale later on.
Yeah, I think he thinks that he's normal and everyone else isn't, and so his artistic temperament is he wants to make everyone look like a version similar to him. I guess that's how I took it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just wondered because it wasn't explained, but I liked, and it's very, very funny. It's very well done. His ploy to, when it get the news on, of his ploy to contaminate like all of the beauty products, the makeup and stuff like that, and then you get those people who have got Joker faces, and the newsreaders progressively look worse and worse. Yes. Because no one's wearing makeup. I think that's absolutely brilliant. It's hilarious the way they look so rough and pissed off on TV without makeup. It's such a funny idea.
It's just weird how badly, the fact that they can't even comb their hair. I found that fine. But their hair is all over the place. You can still comb your hair, mate. But yeah, it was. But that's the whole thing, isn't it? The whole story around Joker. The fact that he's so. Because obviously Batman starts looking into him, doesn't he? And he's obviously got chemistry, sort of A levels or whatever they would be, or university degree and all this sort of stuff. And this is sort of then plays into the fact that he's so twisted that he's put these chemicals, and when they're added together, will kill people, but he won't tell anybody what they're in. So he just causes absolute mass panic throughout the whole of Gotham to millions of people, and he just finds it all a joke because he uses those 2 models that have died, haven't they? And then he's put the Joker faces on, and he's doing that effort. It's like, love that Joker, and it's sick. It's hilarious, but when you actually think about it, it's sick, isn't it? Yeah, it's so dark and brilliant the way it's sort of written, and his character arc. It's like, Jesus, you just wouldn't know what to do with him because you don't know what he's capable of.
Yeah, it's terrifying at the moment. The Joker is terrifying, and as you say, the fact that he's not targeting just the rich and the famous and things like that, he's targeting everyone, and it is awful. And people just don't know the product they're buying. It's just such a clever idea, and as you said, Neil, that the fact he puts those dead people on TV and just kind of takes the piss out of them.
Yeah,
is very, very good. And I love Michael Keaton's reaction when he's watching it. It's as if like, this guy's fucking completely nuts. And where do I start with this? I think it's really, really good. And I'm glad he's like this and not someone who's, I can fucking do what I want and I know what to do. Because who does? And it is just brilliant. It is so well done. And I'm, at the moment, I'm Team Joker.
I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for the drop to happen, and then you just start slating it, because at the moment you're being very kind. So
I know this is not what I expected, Neil.
No, me neither. I am feeling very insecure right now.
I know.
It makes you feel uncomfortable.
He's going to fuck us over any minute he gets now.
Exactly. Yeah, they will. But you're completely right, mate. Just bear with it. Hold on to something.
Yeah, I feel like Bob when he went, Bob, you're my number one. Patting him on the shoulders. That's exactly how I feel right now. Yeah,
definitely. We are his Bob.
Yeah, it's coming. It is coming. We're getting there. I mean, you get the Vicky Vale. She gets an invite to go to the museum, and we learn that it's a setup from the Joker, and she gets that present in front of her, and it's a gas mask, and that's when the Joker comes in and he gasses everyone in the museum. And does he kill everyone in the museum, or does he knock them out?
I think he kills them.
Yeah, I'm going with killing.
Yeah,
I thought he did, and that's why I kind of thought, Jesus, this is hardcore deaths. This isn't anything else. I mean, I don't know what rating this film was.
I think it was a 15 when it came out, or 12. I've got a funny feeling this was a 15, but I'm not sure.
I think it might have been downgraded as time went on, but I think originally, it was a 15, definitely.
And the Joker comes in and starts destroying all of the art. And again, I'm out now. This is just ridiculous. This is Cesar Romero. This is just camp. They're all dancing, and his goons are pirouetting. And to me, we've gone from sadistic, violent, frightening to look at, to think or trying to second guess what he's thinking, to someone dancing around a museum playing Prince with a ghetto blaster on his shoulder. And I'm just lost. I don't, it might just be me being stupid. I don't understand the concept of this. It's forced in this stupid song. It just doesn't work. If it wasn't in it and he just approached Vicky Vale and just sat opposite her and did what he did, I'd be a lot happier. But him dancing,
I love it.
Why? Tell me. What
because
am I not understanding?
Theatre. It's theatre. He's there to see Vicky Vale and woo her and all these things. He wants Vicky Vale to be hers, and he's there and he's like, right, I've killed everyone. This is ours now. This is my arena. I'm being a peacock. I'm going to play my music, destroy this art, save the ones that looks like a dead person being flayed, and all this, and say, no, don't ruin that one. And it's just him peacocking and showing that he's fucking mental. And he thinks that this is something that would impress her.
But then he wants to kill her, and then he goes to squirt acid in her face.
Yeah, because she's basically... That wouldn't have killed her. That would have just done what he did to Alicia.
So I don't...
Is that how you saw it, Jay, or not?
No, I think this is one of the most Joker scenes in it. Other than this and the two where he kills... The one where he kills his boss. The other way where he's dancing, talking to the burnt skeleton. Because yes, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
This, you can argue this is full on Cesar Romero, but when I mentioned about this is why this is a closer adaptation of the Joker than I think to Heath Ledger's is, which is a reimagining. I think and I think it's just as good, but it's a reimagining of the Joker. This is the Joker that I think we were brought up with. This is they're close. I mean, this is Mark Hamill's Joker almost as well.
Yes.
In the Batman series, brought to life. And I'm pretty sure Mark Hamill looked at this, and I'm sure took a lot of things from this into obviously his voice acting and the way he portrayed the Joker on the main series. Surely he had to.
Definitely has. Yeah, he's taken it as this is what the Joker was supposed to be, and how he's supposed to act and talk and stuff. Completely agree, mate. Completely agree. This is more. This version of the Joker is definitely more in line with how he was imagined back in the day in the graphic novels, compared to the Nola Joker, like you say, which is a reimagining, a very good reimagining. No one can take away how amazing Heath Ledger was as that Joker. He was fucking amazing, and many people say that he stole that film away from Bale, and those two sort of fell out about it, didn't they? Because he didn't like the fact that he was outstaged. But it's a different type of Joker, and that's why I will always prefer Nicholson's over Ledger's.
I think this Joker, albeit he's sick, he's more fun. You laugh. I mean, I looked at it and I laughed more. Where Heath Ledger's Joker is way more sinister. But I mean, this Joker, he is sinister, obviously. But looking back at it now, I did laugh at some of the scenes that I may have been horrified of as a child.
Definitely, but if you look at like even the computer games they've done about it, like the Arkham series and stuff, it's very much based on the Joker that Nicholson plays, as well, isn't it? So everything is based around that. So
you just don't like Prince, do you, Stu? That's what it's down to.
I love Prince. I've got a lot of his albums, but I think if you're a Batman fan, which you two clearly are, the chances are, and if I spoke to other people who are like big Batman fans, that they would, if I asked them exactly the same questions, they would say what you say with regards to Joker and stuff like that. And people who aren't Batman fans, or say into it as much as you, will go my direction, as in the more modern Nolan trilogy, as far superior because of you're not into the roots and of what the films are all about, and link them with the comics and different things. But it's just, so I don't think we're ever going to agree on that. It doesn't mean that it's bad at all. It's just my own personal opinion. But I mean,
it's wrong.
It's wrong.
Theory B.
Oh dear. I'm fighting back. That's all. I'll just, like you would with any of those films you love, I'm fighting back.
What, a Top Gun?
Yeah.
Wow, this is. I can taste the sourness between the two of you at the moment.
Oh no, I love him, but
I know.
So, and when they escape, and not much happens in the museum, just Batman escapes and they have a car chase, and they have a car chase in a Batmobile. And for once, we get rid of the Batman 66 classic Batmobile, which in my opinion is the greatest of all time. What do you think of this Batmobile that looks like a massive penis? It's
my daughter's seen this, I think, and the Tumbler, and she preferred this one. But I think it was more to do with the fact that he goes Jills and it auto drives to him. It's like the Google car of the Batman one. I think it looks really cool. I had it as a child as well, like in the Hot Wheels or whatever version, and the slightly bigger version as well. And a lot of until the Tumbler, a lot of Batman's vehicles were based on this. When you actually looked at it, it wasn't that dissimilar. But then you can make an argument that this was just a homage to the 60s series. Because when you look at it, you had the flames from the back. It was black. It looked very sleek at the front. It was very streamlined. And they had that, and that whole thing of going to the back. It was just in a almost cockpit rather than open.
And the funny thing about it is it was made from spare parts from old British old cars that were abandoned and they had to it was all sort of pieced together. I think it had old Ford headlights that had been turned around the other way.
I didn't know. That is amazing.
Backlights and stuff. Yeah, I watched a documentary on it on YouTube, like the making them and stuff like that. And yeah, it was sort of pieced together from, obviously not the fins and the cockpit, but a lot of the parts on it were just old bits that they found and said, yeah, that looks all right and stuff. So
that's
it's
quite cool.
But no, I think it's
pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Pretty good. I think it's just. I don't think it's as good as the Tumbler, which I think is cool as fuck. But I think it's I think it does what it needs to do. It's kind of fits in with the time and the era of this. I don't think it's utilized a lot, but you're never going to make everyone happy when it comes to the Batmobile, because people, it's like Star Wars, the new spaceships or the new like Death Star and shit like that. People are always going to have some kind of problem with it. So you are damned if you do. But no, I think it's pretty good. I like the way it corners, and I could not think of what other film. It might even be a Batman film of where it shoots out a cable and it helps corner the car. I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed that. But when they get to wherever they want to go, Batman falls down. He climbs up on this. This puts Vicky Vale on this platform. And did she see his face when the goons come over and he falls off the building? They lift up his mask. Did she see who he was then?
No, because they don't actually pull off his mask, do they?
They're just about to. You see, So
I don't know whether that's why he takes her camera, because she's taken a picture of who Batman is.
No, she's just taking pictures of Batman, and he doesn't want any pictures of him, so that's why he takes it.
Okay, and I think it's a terrible fucking fight of when you get that ninja guy with the two swords. Who walks towards him. It's awful.
It's Indiana Jones, isn't it? It's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. I was thinking the exact same thing, Neil.
You can't forgive that, unfortunately. That particular part, and it's not. It doesn't just happen once in this film. It does happen again, unfortunately, doesn't it? But yeah,
that's the suit. That is the suit. You cannot move in that suit. And when he looks up at Vicky Vale, he bends all of his bloody body backwards in a really awkward position. I
was going to say about that, Stu, just quickly. When you think back to Star Wars and their original lightsaber fights, and they were restricted due to the fact that they didn't want to break the lightsabers, and compare them to the fights now, do you think that ruins those films when you look back at it?
No, nothing ruined Star Wars. The fights are really good, choreographed in Star Wars.
But I'm not going to be funny here, because I love Star Wars, and I think the original trilogy is better than anything they've ever produced since. But when you look at it now, the fight scenes are pretty lame, aren't they? In comparison, to what they do now. Go on, James. Sorry.
Yeah, I would always argue about. I think we made this point not that long ago, but I would always argue about the lightsaber fight. It wasn't about the lightsaber fight; it was the story around the lightsaber fights, like Obi-Wan, and that's what made it really awesome. But yeah, the fights themselves are a bit rubbish. But I think you don't really, you're not there really. Yes, it's nice to see your lightsabers, but yeah, because you look at the fights in the newer ones, they don't mean anything. The actual fights, it's almost like watching like a computer game, isn't it?
No, it's true, but it's just interesting to say, because they had limitations due to their props, and obviously he had limitations due to the way they had to make the suit.
I think in the first
look
Star
at it
Wars,
both ways.
It's Alec Guinness who's fucking limited anyway, and
but even
and
Darth
as it gets
Vader
onward, I think
versus
it gets
Luke,
progressively good.
Yeah, but even the fight at the end, when between Luke Skywalker and obviously fucking Darth Vader, it's crap. They spend most of the time just walking around each other. They don't actually do much fighting.
What, in Return of the Jedi?
Return of the Jedi. And even
I think that's a
to a
great
certain
fight when
degree,
they're force moving boxes, I think.
It is brilliant. It is brilliant. But what I'm saying is, even Mark Hamill said himself, he wanted to be more acrobatic and do stuff, but they wouldn't allow him to do it because of the limitations of Darth Vader's outfit, and they didn't want to break the lightsabers.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I remember the moving the stuff around and cutting platforms down, but apart from that, I don't really remember much about the fights, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's all I'm saying. Is you've got to, for what it was with the limitations of the suit, I didn't have a problem with the fight scenes, other than the fact that they put that guy with the two swords just moving him around ridiculously and screaming, because I just spat out bloody Indiana Jones. But
it was funny. I thought it was hilarious, but not in the. It didn't do the film favors.
Yeah,
that makes
it wasn't.
sense.
I don't think it's supposed to be funny. If you see what I mean.
No.
Maybe it was, but it wasn't. If you see,
Yeah.
But I kind of forgive, and I understand what you're saying, Stu, and I can't say that you're wrong. But for me personally, it didn't really affect the film, other than the man with the swords, because I understand the limitations they were under. Very much like Star Wars, and I will never let those fight scenes take that away from the film, if you see what I mean.
Oh, I completely understand what you're saying, and it's again, it all comes down to personal opinion, and to me, I would have liked a bit more fighting and stuff like that, and I know their limitations, and I just think it's very awkward, but we're just not going to agree on that. But
no.
It does kind of get kudos back when Bruce Wayne goes round, because he's been having that battle in his head. Do I tell her or not that I am Batman? And he's clearly got these feelings for her, and it's going to be a massive step to come out of the closet like that as to who you are. And I do love the battle he's having, the conversation even he's having with himself of how to tell her. And again, it's Keaton being Keaton, absolutely brilliant. He does this so well, doesn't he? He's so uncomfortable with himself, trying to. When you think how confident, all the shit that he does in the Batmobile and saving people, that the fact that he fumbles his lines when he's trying to tell her, and he just comes across as a complete fool. I think it's so good. It's so well done.
His acting's very good, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It really, really is. And then it's ruined by Jack Nicholson, and I think it's cheesy and it's tropey. The fact that later on when he gets shot, it's convenient he picks up that tray, and thank fuck he didn't get a headshot because he'd be dead. But we could say that about so many other films, and it doesn't ruin the scene at all. No. And I do like the fact that, to make sure that he comes across as a regular Joe kind of thing, that he picks up that poker and he kicks off against the Joker, knowing how dangerous he is. I think that is a really clever idea.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts. Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey. I just like the sound of it.
Kind of in the script and the way it's acted out, I think it's a brilliant, genius thing to do.
Yeah, no, it showed the other side of him, didn't it? Definitely, and the way he acted it was. And you didn't. I don't think anyone expected it at the time, did they? You didn't. No,
I didn't. When I watched it, I didn't expect him to do it.
I think even when you watch it now, you're like, why the fuck is he doing that? It's mental, But it's still a very good scene.
I didn't see him pick up that tray either.
No, but that's the whole point, was it? That was the suspense of it. You think he's actually been shot and killed, but he's too smart. He outsmarted him.
He did. Luckily, he didn't get shot anywhere else. But I thought it came across really well.
Exactly what I thought of the scene.
Yeah. Shoot him in the nuts or the stomach or anywhere else, and he's fucked. Yeah. There you go.
It could have backfired. And again, he looks so good, Jack Nicholson, when he's got all of his makeup on. And he just doesn't give a shit. It's just, he plays it so well, because he's not just being over the top. And I love his purple suit and his green shirt. He just looks brilliant, doesn't he?
Yeah, he is brilliant. He looks the part, doesn't he? And he's such a good. He's just, I can't get over it how good he is in this film. I will always say it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just think the mistake of putting someone else in that role and how it would have turned out. It's really weird, isn't it? How fate, the way it works.
Definitely, you're completely right, mate. You're completely right. If you put anybody else in there, I just don't think it would have worked anywhere near as well as it did. It wouldn't have been anywhere near as iconic.
No, and it's interesting what Nicholson does, and I do love the call, because this is really about greed and people's principles. I don't know whether I was looking into it too much, but the way he calls out on the news, again, he calls out Batman, and in that fate, is it $20 million that he's going to put out? And from people fearing him and hating him for what he's doing, poisoning everyone, all of a sudden, as soon as he offers money up with the intention of killing them, obviously the people don't know that, but suddenly he's loved and everyone turns out for his parade. And it really just sums up greed, which is a massive thing.
I love a good party. So, truce. Commence au festival. And I've got a surprise for Gotham City. At midnight, I will dump $20 million in cash on the crowd. Don't worry about me. I've got enough.
We are not prepared to discuss any deals.
You heard it, folks. 20 million. And there will be entertainment. The Big Dukeroo. With me in one corner, and in the other corner, the man who has brought real terror to Gotham City, Batman.
Through all the different franchises, really, of that he doesn't give a shit about money, and it's just about the effect it has on people, and which proves him right that people's morals are exactly the same as his when it comes to money.
It's a tool, isn't it? It's a weapon he can use because he knows that anyone will pretty much do anything for free money, especially if they're in a city riddled with crime and struggling. And so like he does in the reimagining, he uses money, doesn't he? So it's very clever.
Yeah, I think it's really, really good. And the fact that he, I mean, it kind of kicks Harvey Dent in the bollocks, really, that he was campaigning to not have this fair go ahead, wasn't he? The parade, is that right?
He wanted it to go ahead, but he was saying it was ridiculously over budget, and then the mayor cancelled the parade because of the amount of danger that obviously Jack Nicholson had caused, and that there was so much fear that they had to cancel it, and that's why he turns around and says, I'm not a bad guy, I'll put on the fete for free, I'll do the parade for nothing, and I'm giving away $20 million. How bad am I? I'm not hidden behind a mask, this is who I am, and stuff. So he used, again, smart. I mean, it's a bit unrealistic in the sense that would you really go out and do that if he's killed people with products? But he's been savvy enough to use that fear to boost his own self and fuck out and make the government look shit.
Yeah, there was two things that I kind of, knowing that you're massive fans of Batman, that I really wanted to ask you that, because first of all, how did you feel about Kim Basinger, Vicky Vale, being brought back to the Batcave by Alfred?
Now,
and then exposed to everything.
I have the answer to this, and the reason this was put in the film is because there was a writer's strike during this. So when they were filming it, there was a writer's strike, and during that time they had to bring in anybody, and they decided that to move the film along in their relationship, that they would expose who Batman was to Vicky Vale and take him into the cave. But they interviewed actual writers of it, and they said that would never have happened in a million years if I was still on the writing staff.
He was going to, because he was going to do that before, wasn't he? He was trying to tell her before the Joker interrupted him.
Yeah.
And Alfred had suggested it to him as well.
Yeah. So I think that part would probably have been in it, but I think, obviously the Joker interrupts and he never got to say who he was, because that's obviously him fighting himself. But originally she was never going to be allowed to be in the Batcave, because the writer even turned around and said that would be Alfred's last day on the job at Wayne Manor if he just brought Vicky Vale into the Batcave. He would have been fired instantly.
Yeah, that's why it was so perplexing to me that Alfred, and it sounds out of order, but Alfred just being a butler, knowing the stakes of everything, brought her in without his permission. It seemed a really strange thing to do, and he was really comfortable with it. It just didn't fit in with the mystique, and it was weird.
Yeah, no, that was the pure reason it was done, is because they decided to, the writers had were on strike, and they just decided that they wanted to go in this direction and go away from the original sort of story of what Batman's about and stuff.
Okay, and the other thing is that, and it's around about the same time as well, as when he's watching the news footage on the TV, and he's just on his own. And then when he looks at Jack Napier, and you get the flashback of when his parents die.
Yeah.
And that's when he says, ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight. That he kind of links the two together, doesn't he?
Again, that was written in during the writer's strike.
Because it was never Joker, again, correct me if I'm wrong, who actually killed his parents, was it? It was just a goon by chance, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. But they decided to write that into the script to make the battle between them two have more stakes.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
But it was never supposed to be in the original script. And it was something that was written in because they got in a load of people that obviously weren't part of the Writers Guild to help during that part of it, or something or other.
It's a weird one. As a film contained within that film, it doesn't. I don't think it really hurts the plot when you're just looking at it contained. However, when you just look at it, because it's about Batman, it does harm it because it goes completely against the grain of what we know.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
As someone that know, or people that know of the story, but if you were watching it as a standalone film, James, you're completely right. It doesn't ruin it at all.
Yeah. If you knew nothing about Batman, you'd be like, oh wow, that's really bad. That's now, as you said, that does up the stakes. But yeah. So it's like a double-edged sword, that weird decision they did, isn't it? In a way.
Massively. Yeah.
And do you know what? It really annoyed me when the Batmobile goes around this factory and drops loads of bombs and destroys it all. And it turns out that he isn't even driving it, and it's being remote controlled. It just, to me, it seemed a really bizarre decision. If he was driving it, it would just seem like there was more stakes there. But just to have it remotely go around the factory, I didn't understand the point of having that in there. It just, I mean, yeah, the car is remote controlled, but who gives a shit? We know that anyway, and it's just fucking pointless. I didn't get, there was no odds, no stakes there.
I think, well, you all correct me if I'm wrong, James, but I think you thought that he was in there, and then it was cool that he's afterwards. You're like, oh man, that car is fucking awesome. It can even be driven around and blow shit up.
Yeah, like the opposite to that. I was like, oh, he's not in there.
Well, yeah, but you know, like you said, at this point you'd already given up. So you're going to look at everything at it in that sort of light, potentially. Potentially.
I was. Do you know what? I'll always look at something and try and get the positives out of it, and there's still positives in this film. There's not many at all now. But I was looking at it because I didn't remember any of it at all.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't a case of, oh, this next bit's fucking terrible, because I didn't know what was going to happen. I love the fact that he's throwing the money out to people and people are celebrating, and the fact that and I can take the fact that he's dancing on this massive cake because he's so happy knowing that all of these people he's going to murder, which is a really sick thought, because he'll just take that money back once they're all dead. So it's just outright cold-blooded murder, which I think's hilarious in a way.
Just goes to show how fucking sinister and vile he is, isn't it? It's weird though, isn't it? The fact that there are no police there at all.
No, and he's the most wanted person at the moment, you know, and no one gives a shit.
Yeah, that's the only sort of bit that really lets it down, isn't it? That you've got this maniac and all his goons there with machine guns and stuff, and there's not one person trying to stop him doing it, other than obviously Batman when he turns up a bit later. But I always thought, like, surely, you know, they'd at least put a sniper on the roof or something. But
yeah, because you've announced on national TV where you're going to be at what time and you're wanted, and no one's there. It's especially as the commissioner and Harvey Dent goes on about him, it's just strange. But Then we get, is it the Batarang, which I really like. I thought it was very stylish. I thought the fact that it was the Bat icon was brilliant, and it doesn't do it too garish and too cheesy. I think it looks really, really cool. And I don't care about the special effects or anything like that because this is so old. I just think it looks really, really cool.
I had this as a toy. Did you, James?
No. Oh yeah. Well, no, not the Batwing. Oh, yeah,
The Batwing.
Die-cast phone. I got the Micro Machine set.
Oh, did you?
The two of them. Yeah, the two of them. Yeah, from Woolworths. After Christmas with my Christmas money.
Because obviously I was, after watching this film, I was then obsessed with Batman as a child, and yeah, I had the Batwing. It was fucking awesome. So yeah.
I never did. I can honestly say
It was brilliant. I had this in the Batmobile. On the Batmobile, you pulled the gear stick back in the cockpit, and it shot missiles out the front.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool.
Yeah, and it had the boot actually open, so you could stuff like the Joker in there if you beat him up and stuff. It's brilliant.
It does look really, really good. I think the one thing that lets this down, first of all, I like the fact that Knox, the reporter, does have a go. He gets a baseball bat out of his car, be it that it's very token gesture, that he actually gets to do something, because most of the time he's portrayed as a really slimy reporter who's just trying to get in Vicky Vale's knickers. And the fact he does fight back, it's short-lived, but I like the fact that he's given something to do, because he's not a horrible character. He's quite a likable character.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the gutter press, he's likable. And one thing that I just thought, oh, for fuck's sake, this is so convenient. When the gas is coming out of the balloons and spraying down to the people, and it just happens on the front of the fucking bat plane, whatever it's called, that it's got a massive clamp that you can handily get hold of balloons. It's just so contrived. That I laughed at that. I thought, for fuck's sake. I'm surprised it hasn't got scissors on there as well, like a fucking Swiss Army knife that can cut things. It's just nonsense.
Well, it's like scissors because it snaps it cuts the lines and they all float away into the atmosphere. So
but did Batman know that's how he's going to do the gas before he left in his Batwing? Or maybe he's got different contraptions like a penknife. You know, to it.
It's comic. You've got to remember as well, Stu. This is comic book. If you go back to the '60s, he had shark repellent.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Doing that shark on his leg.
Yeah, Robin, quick, hand me my shark repellent spray.
He sprays it and the shark blows up.
But when I watched that, I was like 6 and I believed it. So
but it's still the same. I'm not, all superheroes have things, don't they? And that Batman's known for his gadgets. That's why he has a utility belt, because it's full of gadgets and stuff like that. So I love the fact that even when you watch Lego Batman movie, they even take the piss out of the shark repellent spray, because Robin's in the Batcaves, touch it. He's like, don't touch that. And he goes, can I have this? And he's like, yeah, you can have that. It's useless because it's it's the fucking shark repellent spray. It's genius. It's it's a franchise that can take the piss out of itself and stuff. But yeah, no, I think I can see what you're saying, but I can't agree with you because it's Batman. He knows everything. He's got a tool for everything.
No. Again, we were never going to agree on everything, and that's just the way this film was going to go. But I hope I'm giving it more love than you thought I would in the first place.
Actually, I am. I was expecting you to go, this is shit. This bit was shit.
No, not at all.
I can't believe this bit. God.
No, that would just be toilet to do that. I did think it let it down. Surely you guys must agree on this. As he was going in to kill him, how did he not kill him when he's lined up those guns, those rockets on him, and he didn't kill him? And then he gets shot out of the air with his gun, which a bat plane or bat jet, whatever it's called, shouldn't get shot out of the sky that easy. I thought it was.
I don't think he was trying to kill him. It was reminded me very similar of when Batman was going towards Joker in The Dark Knight.
Well, his target lined up on him. When you look at the target, it focuses on the Joker.
I know.
Yeah. You can't deny that, because you would think that, well, how bad is this targeting system if it misses when it's locked on? Granted, but I have to agree with James as well. Batman doesn't kill people. generally there are the exceptions, but
there's that one scene in Batman Returns, isn't it, when he hands the clown the bomb and he clearly dies.
So do you think he wasn't meant to kill him in this then?
Sorry,
well, we'll get to the end, won't we? But
no, because
this moment,
in that part, his sights were lined up on Joker.
I think that is just where they just bad decision making in relation to the filming. If they'd done it where he wasn't in a sight and he was just shooting to sort of intimidate him without the sight being locked on, it would have worked better. You're completely right. If you've added that thing where it's saying it's locked on, it would have fucking killed him. Yeah, completely agree. It's just one of those stupid movie mistakes.
And I couldn't understand why. And I watched this, obviously, as I say, like 3 times, and I looked on each time. He crashes. Again, I think it's stupid that the gun shoots the bat plane out of the sky. I just doesn't make sense. But and when it crashes on the ground, the Joker goes to escape with Vicky Vale, and it looks like he kind of changes his mind. I mean, does he go up to the church because of the helicopter, or why does he go up on the church? What's the reasoning for that? Because it looks like I don't see why he goes on the church.
James, do you know? Because I don't know why he goes up there.
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that. I'm so sorry.
Actually, this whole scene, especially at the top of the bell tower, was all filmed in the way it was done, is because Jack Nicholson had gone to see Phantom of the Opera in London. Okay. So this whole next bit is in relation to his viewing of the Phantom of the Opera in the theatre, and he wanted to do a homage to that, and they agreed to do it.
Oh, right.
So there's your answer.
Well, that's a shame. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but again, when
there's not much you can say, is
there's not really, apart from it's a shame.
It is a shame. I completely agree.
Yeah, and again, the fighting, you get that the ninja guy come towards him, and it's just not good. The choreography there is just not good. And
do you know what I found frustrating about this bit? Sorry, Stu. It's the fact that he went up to the tower and said, "Can I have a helicopter? Make it 10 minutes," because of how far it was up. Yeah. And yet there was like about 10 guys up there already. It's like, why were they up there?
Yeah, that was my next question. I've got that written down. Considering the stairs were destroyed, how the fuck did they get up there?
They were already up there, waiting just in case. Or was that always his plan? But he was just going to go up that bell tower no matter what. It was so weird when I watched it. And I love this film, but even I sat there and was like, what? Why is the ninja man and the giant black dude here with a load of other cronies for no reason? It was,
it was really, really strange. Yeah. And if it was a Phantom of the Opera bit, when he's dancing with her around the church, that's really spooky and crazy, and that works for me really well. But nothing else does at the moment. It's just I'm struggling to kind of keep up with it. And it's interesting, the Batman scene when he fights Joker, because I don't know, Michael Keaton isn't the biggest guy in the world, and it just seems like an unfair fight. It doesn't, especially as it's like the big ending to the film. It just doesn't seem, them two fighting just doesn't seem right. It doesn't work for me. I know it sounds like I'm being visual, and I promise you, I'm not just hating this film. It's just I don't get the aggression from Michael Keaton in this, and Joker doesn't put up a fight whatsoever. He's not a fighter. He's a shooter. He's not a fighter.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Because they wrote into the fact that he's found out that he's killed his parents. It's almost like the gloves are off, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's out of control.
Yeah.
Which one's it? What, Batman's out of control?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's lost it.
Yeah, and that's what's interesting, that he does lose it, and at the end, surely he kills him on purpose, doesn't he? You don't, when he tries to, they're all hanging off the side of that church, and when he goes to escape and he ties him with his gargoyle around the church, I mean, if the helicopter would have lowered a bit, he could have got away with it. I mean, if Bob the Goon would have been on there, and he even did the same to Bob the Goon, he just shot him the same way that Chris did.
I love that. Yeah, it was brilliant. It's like the most trusted man, and because he was upset, and that just goes to show how fucking mental he was. He just shot him point blank in the chest.
I thought that was brilliant. That was such a good decision to make, wasn't it? Because you get so comfortable with seeing Bob on the scene, saving the Joker, and they're such good mates. And as you say, Neil, for him just to turn around and shoot him because he's pissed off and didn't think of something. It's so funny. I just fucking hell, no one's safe. But yeah, you think he's getting away with it, and he has some very good lines when he's hanging off the side of the church. I have to say, he's very, very cocky, and he gets tied with his gargoyle, and the goons on the helicopter, for some reason, even though he's got that concrete or cement wrapped around him, they try and fly away anyway. It's like, Jesus Christ.
It's interesting. You have to sort of look at it and think, oh God, really? Did he kill him? Did he mean to kill him? I think that's the whole thing. I was on the fence if he was just trying to stop him getting away, and unfortunately, it was his goons being stupid enough not to see this giant gargoyle hanging off his leg and landing on the roof or whatever and saving him is what actually killed him. But some people will turn around and say, no, Batman's the one that killed him, and he meant to. It depends how you look at it or what you want to believe.
I don't know. What do you think, Jay?
I don't know, really. And I think it's nice that it's a grey area because we don't know. I don't think he wanted to kill him. It's almost... the scene felt very similar to the one at the Axis Chemical Factory. And I guess that was on purpose.
Yes, it probably was, James. You're right.
Actually, and I think it's good, And I think it's nice that you're not really sure, you're not 100%, and we're having this conversation because it wasn't so obvious. And I like it that they both kept both those scenes fairly grey. Like, you're not really 100% sure. You will want to bet all your mortgage on it or your life on it, either way, maybe.
Yeah,
it's quite neutral. Agree. I don't think he did do it. I think at that time, in that position, there was nothing else Batman could have done to prevent Joker from escaping. And it just happened. I think his death could be attributed more to his goons doing what they did than to what Batman did. So, I think that's Batman wins that one with regards to taking no victims.
You win. Yeah, okay.
And when he falls to the floor, you've got that little laughter box.
I love that.
I do like that. That's
a bag of laughs.
Yeah.
Very good.
A bag of laughs. Brilliant, though, isn't it? Again,
it's creepy, isn't it?
Yeah. That face smiling up, dead face smiling up, just a bag of laughs going off in his pocket.
Bag of laughs. Well, I so sad he died. He's such a good character, isn't he? And I think this is the only Batman film with one big super villain character. I can't think of another Batman film that just has one in.
It was an interesting choice. That I wonder whose choice it was that the Joker did die, because he's such an iconic character that. Why kill him? I mean, why wasn't he locked in Arkham for the next one? Whose choice was it that he should die at the end of this? Was it just purely out of revenge because he killed his parents? I mean,
I know it is an interesting choice, isn't it? But I don't know. Maybe at the start of this, they were just going to do a one-off, and then obviously it was critically acclaimed, and they decided to carry on. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. It's a really strange thing. But then people talk about the Joker, and no one actually knows who he is, and you look at like the Joker film, obviously, which is very psychological and about mental, but he's basically an old man and he's turned into the Joker, but he can't surely be the Joker. So people have taken on that persona and then gone on to do what they've done. So perhaps they were going to go down that line of some mysterious character, very much like Heath Ledger turns up saying I'm the Joker, but no one knows who the fuck he is.
Yeah,
that's I don't know.
And it's interesting at the end of this, they come out with the bat light that shines in the sky, being more accepting of Batman, where in previous films he's been regarded as a villain and someone to be frightened of and chased down by the police and everyone else. It's a different universe, isn't it, to what the ones I'm used to, but
Well, they even use the bat signal in the Nolan trilogy, don't they? Because
they do.
It's always up there turning it on, and
but
he
they
uses
smash it in the
as...
end. That's what I mean. They destroy everything, don't they? And
yeah, but obviously this is at the very start of him being Batman, in the sense of stuff. So it's how that light gets there.
Yeah, and it's again a decision that puzzles me as to why they decided that Vicky Vale will meet Alfred, and they kind of spend their life together. Her and Bruce Wayne. It kind of, was this going to be a one-off film? I mean, was there a multi-deal?
Well, they probably didn't know. I think even though they sign people for multi-deals, you do that, but you don't really know at the end of the day if the studio is going to greenlit a sequel, do you? So I think even as actors, you can sign like a 2-3 year deal, like potentially Robert Downey did for the Avengers, but there's it's never guaranteed that there's going to be a sequel, is there?
Definitely.
No,
and she's not even in the second film, so there you go.
No.
She was an interesting. Is Vicky Vale in the second film, and it's not her,
No.
or is she just not in it at all?
She's not in it. She's not in it at all. I think it is explained in there that she's like, the relationship just didn't work out, and she's just done one, and obviously will keep his identity a secret because she respects and loves him, but can't be with him because of what he does. But his love interest in that sort of love interest is more Catwoman, who's Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, that's another film to be spoken about, definitely. So that is the end, and man, I still can't believe we've gone and done it. Batman 1989. I mean, who wants to go first? Scores on the doors. I really, really don't mind.
Go on, Jace.
I'll give it. You know what? I'll give it a fat 5. I really enjoyed it. I know the thing about giving something a 5, it's weird, isn't it? No film is ever going to be perfect. I don't think any film is perfect. But for the time, my little kid, where James as a young child would give it a 5, and watching it again, I watched it with my daughter. We both really, really, really enjoyed it, and I think the fact that she enjoyed it so much as well helps me convince me to give it a 5. And she's watched all the Marvel films, and she still really, really enjoyed it. So for me, I think it's a 5. And also, we cannot thank this enough, because once again, you have things like Blade, Spider-Man, and this Batman thing. Had we not had this serious Batman film in the 80s, would we have the Marvel universe? Potentially not, as it is now. We don't know, and I think that definitely helped to take superheroes seriously in the cinema.
No, I completely agree. I think
best bit, the Joker. Worst bit, some of those fight scenes with the guy with the ninja sword. Oh God. Yeah.
Oh, go on. Yeah. Go on then, Stu. What are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5.
Whoa!
I know. See, I did say I could surprise you.
I'm really glad I'm sitting down.
I was gonna say, fucking plot twist, motherfucker. That's you know what? I'm more surprised at that than Ned Stark losing his head at Game of Thrones. But there we go.
But no, I mean, I went in this and I honestly really tried to enjoy it, and I didn't remember any of it. I did a lot of research before, and I have to say, up to a certain point, which you've spoken about, I really did enjoy it, and you can't take away the acting and from Nicholson or from Keaton. I thought they were both really, really good, and their screen time was really enjoyable, and it was nice for me to get a different take on characters who I've been entrenched in from the Nolan universe. So that's all I know. And it was a case of just sit back and embrace it and be patient with it, because this is the universe that it's from, and don't compare it. And when I did that, I did actually enjoy it, and I enjoyed the film a lot more than I thought I would. I thought it was a really good film, and you're spot on. If it wasn't for this film, I don't think anyone else would have had the balls to take on anything else. And as I said before, Marvel were too busy going bankrupt, selling their characters to everyone else. So it shows what a ballsy decision it was. And yeah, I think the suit does hurt the fighting, and I kind of rolled my eyes, got over it, and knew it was never going to be any good fighting. But I love the car. I thought the back wing was really good. Bearing in mind that it was a huge gamble to do anything like that, and the design concept was really good. And I enjoyed the film. I actually did enjoy the film, and I watched it 3 times for the podcast, and it wasn't painful viewing. I sat each time, watched it all the way through, and yeah, I just thought it was a good film, and I'm glad I watched it, to be honest.
Well, that's nice to hear. That's
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm really, really surprised at that, Stu. I really am. The vibes
good.
you've been giving off it, you thought it was a pile of shit. So,
Yeah,
play
I'm
to you,
wrong.
mate.
I am wrong, and it's
Yeah,
been a
well,
week for that, isn't it?
it has been a week. It has been a week of being wrong. I agree. But
I apologize. Yeah, sorry, Stu. The amount, I feel really bad now. The amount of shit we gave you in our WhatsApp group. I feel like a cunt. Thanks for that.
Yeah,
You made me feel like
you were sending excrement through the post to my house.
basically.
we do that anyway.
Absolutely.
In the
I will
shape
never.
of a back wing.
I will never put in the shape of a. Neil and I will never put dog shit in a paper bag on your doorstep and light it. No, we're so sorry.
Apologise.
But no, it's good. Go on, Neil.
Yeah, it's 5 out of 5 for me. Nostalgia wise, this would get me anyway, and obviously watching it with a critical eye, I will be honest, I did spot a few more things that are questionable and some of the decision makings, but looking up the documentaries and stuff and the reasons behind a lot of those reasons they did things, it kind of explains it in what excuse me, in a different direction it probably would have gone in if there wasn't a writer's strike and stuff like that. But I just love everything about it. I think Jack Nicholson is the best Joker by far, and I think Michael Keaton is, sorry, I've got a cough, plays a brilliant Batman and Bruce Wayne. He plays it very different to the Nolan saga, so you can compare the two, but they're very different homages of the same character. So, but I still, he, like James and you have both said, this gave rebirth to Batman when anyone outside of the comic book side of it, and I would have been at this point in my life because I was 8 when this came out, is the only one I'd ever seen is the 60s camp, really slapstick thing on TV, which I enjoyed as a child, but it never sort of stole my imagination. As soon as I saw this film, that was it. I was a Batman fan forever. And, so I've got massive nostalgia, and it's just brilliant. So I'd definitely give it 5 out of 5. I think you have to watch this film if you like Batman, or you haven't seen it before. You must have been living under a rock. Best bits are Jack Nicholson and the setting, and I think the worst bit's got to be the stupid bloke with the swords, because it just does ruin it. But yeah, that's what I'd say.
Do you know, I never saw this at the cinema when it came out. I was 12 at the time. No, what year was it? 1989.
89.
Yeah.
All right. I was a lot older than that then. I was about 16. And
so you're old enough to watch it then?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I never went to see it, and I think it's purely down to the videos, because they were really, really hyping up the Prince videos at the time. And it's interesting because possibly had I seen this film and it captured my imagination, you could have all 3 of us here just kind of gooey-eyed talking about agreeing on everything, and it's just what could have been. But no, it was really, really good to see. And I don't know, as usual, we don't know what's up next on the pod. Oh, we do, don't we?
We do
Neil,
indeed.
tell everyone, what are we going to do? We have a trilogy. Is it a trilogy?
No, it's a double. It's a
double.
doubler. It's a doubler. It's Pitch Black and The Chronicles of Riddick are the 2 next films that we're going to do.
But there are 3 films in there, isn't there?
There's a new one, but I don't believe that is available for us to watch at this moment.
So Pitch Black.
Pitch
and
Black
the Chronicles of Riddick.
And the Chronicles.
Okay.
Stu's never seen them because he doesn't like a particular actor that plays a major part within these.
What, the one from Neighbours?
No.
She's in the she's in Pitch Black. Oh, okay. I wouldn't know who.
The bald man.
Vin Diesel.
The Rock.
The Rock. I don't like Vin Diesel.
No.
Vin Diesel?
Yeah, he doesn't like Vin Diesel. But if you
Why?
go on
Why don't you like Vin Diesel?
He's just so cardboard. He's got as much range as a bloody estate Granada.
It'd be interesting because this Pitch Black was the first time I came across Vin Diesel. No pun. Yeah.
Oh, that's
That
it.
sounds-
You liked
that-
it?
that's
You
You
like
liked
isn't
him
it?
that much?
Yeah, blimey.
Yeah, I was going to say those words came out of my mouth. And I thought, oh fuck, I forgot who I was talking to. I thought, shit, I got checkmate straight away. My king dies. It's the first time I saw him in any kind of film before. Because this is before the first Fast and Furious film, isn't it? Must be. I think.
I believe it might have been before that. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be really interesting to see what you think, especially Pitch Black.
Yeah,
So
I've
it's
got no
not
clue what
Chronicles
they're
of Riddick.
about.
It's Riddick, because the Chronicles of Riddick is the new film, which isn't available on Netflix yet. So that'd be the third in the franchise. So we're doing Pitch Black and then Riddick. So.
And they're both available on Netflix UK at the moment, I believe.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Fantastic. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what they're about. So will I come back going, wow, these were amazing. I want to get the books and t-shirts.
Don't look at anything. Before you watch the first Pitch Black, don't look at anything. Don't look at any trailers. Don't read what it's about. Just watch it. Just see what you think. It'll be really interesting.
I certainly will. And that will be next week. So check this podcast out. Obviously you will do because you've listened to it already. So you have checked it out. So that makes no sense whatsoever. But we've got the Top Gun. We've got the conclusion of was it good or was it not good? If you haven't listened to that yet, there'll be 2 podcasts out this week and you'll find out. I'm not going to give anything away. If you haven't listened to that already, we went into it blind, myself and Neil, and you'll get our thoughts on it. So, James, have you seen Top Gun yet?
No, I haven't. I really want to. I've heard good things. Everyone that's watched it, from my colleagues, a few of my friends, I've not had a bad word said about the sequel yet. But there we go.
Well, Neil watched it and I watched it, and you'll have to listen to the podcast because Neil was full of hate, I was full of love, and to see where it ended up. So, we'll have 2 podcasts out, a bonus one this week. And if there's any trailers that we can find as well, we'll be looking at those. And again, next week, you'll get 2 podcasts. So for the price of nothing, no adverts, nothing at all, just free podcasts. So that's it. Before we go, guys, have you got anything to add?
No,
it's been a pleasure to talk about Batman, I have to be honest. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed it.
It's brilliant. It's been really good fun. Everyone take care. Enjoy. If you do get them, your 2 extra days off. Some people won't due to the nature of what they do. But if you do enjoy that, enjoy the weather. We'll be back next week at 2 podcasts. You take care.